A billionaire pretended to be a janitor in his own hotel, fires all staff and manager after this. The smell of bleach clung to his clothes as he pushed the janitor cart through the grand marble-floored lobby of the Langston Grand Hotel. No one glanced his way. Guests passed, their gazes skipping over him like he was part of the decor. Staff walked by, barking orders or ignoring him altogether, which was exactly what Marcus Langston wanted. To them, he was Eli, a tired, middle-aged janitor with calloused hands, a second-hand uniform, and a laminated ID badge clipped crookedly to his chest. No one recognized him as the man who owned the hotel, the billionaire whose portrait hung just outside the executive boardroom on the top floor. He had spent weeks planning this. The complaints had started small. A lawsuit here, a whisper there, discrimination, mistreatment. Wage theft. He'd tried to handle it the traditional way, emails, compliance reports, internal audits, but the stories persisted. A gut feeling told him something was deeply wrong, and numbers on a spreadsheet weren't going to show it. So he shaved his beard, dyed his hair gray, and created Eli from scratch. Now here he was, mopping his own lobby floor while a guest loudly complained that the doorman smelled poor. A voice snapped behind him. "Hey, mop boy, you missed a spot." Marcus turned. The voice belonged to Carter Briggs, the front desk manager, tall, slick, and dressed like someone auditioning for a reality show. "Sorry, sir," Marcus mumbled, keeping his head down. Carter rolled his eyes and leaned toward a pretty young guest. "Don't mind the help," he said with a chuckle. "We've been trying to get better workers, but, well, you know how it is." The girl laughed uncomfortably, not sure whether she was supposed to find that funny. Marcus gripped the mop tighter. It wasn't the first offhand comment he'd heard that morning. At breakfast, he saw a Hispanic line cook get screamed at for speaking Spanish. In the service hallway, he passed a black bellhop, Terry, being written up for slouching, while white employees scrolled their phones freely. A pregnant housekeeper told him she was denied a break because her attitude needed adjusting. All before 10 a.m. When he reached the staff break room, it was nearly empty except for Nancy, the head housekeeper, who sat with her feet propped up on a chair, sipping an iced latte like she owned the place. She squinted at him. "You're the new one, huh?" "Eli?" "Yes, ma'am." "Well, I don't care how many hotels you worked at before. You clean on your break too, or you'll find yourself out quicker than you came in." Marcus gave her a nod, biting his tongue. She had no clue she was threatening the man who signed her paycheck. By noon, the abuse escalated. Marcus was ordered to unclog a flooded guest bathroom without gloves. When he politely asked for proper gear, Nancy accused him of having an attitude and threatened to dock his hours. 2 servers were scolded for helping him and told, "If you want to be janitors too, I can make it happen." Then came the moment that turned his stomach. A single mother checked in, Monica Harris, accompanied by her 9-year-old daughter. They had booked a luxury suite using points she'd saved for 3 years. But when Carter saw her, his smile dropped. "There must be a mistake," he said flatly. "That suite isn't available." "But I booked it a month ago," Monica replied calmly, holding up her confirmation email. "I don't care what your email says," Carter snapped. "Maybe try a motel next time." Marcus was standing nearby, emptying a trash can. He froze. The daughter clutched her mother's sleeve, confused and scared. Monica's voice shook, but she held firm. "I want to speak to your manager." "You're looking at him," Carter said smugly. That's when Marcus stepped forward, his heart thudding. "Sir," he said, keeping in character, "she's right. That suite's open." "I just cleaned it this morning." Carter's head snapped around. "You think you know better than me, janitor?" Marcus didn't flinch. Carter marched toward him. "You want to lose your job on your first day?" Monica spoke again, her voice clearer this time. "I'll be recording from this point on," she said, holding up her phone. Carter laughed. "Do it. You people always play the victim." The words echoed through the lobby. Guests began to turn. A man near the entrance pulled out his own phone. Monica didn't move. Her daughter was holding back tears. Marcus stood still. His blood boiled, but he couldn't blow his cover. Not yet. The scene simmered until Nancy came hustling over. "Problem here?" she asked. "No problem," Carter said smoothly. "This woman was just leaving." That afternoon, Monica and her daughter left in tears. Marcus sat alone in the janitor's supply room, staring at the wall. His hands were clenched. That was the moment he decided. He wasn't just going to fix things quietly from the top. He was going to burn it all down and start over. But first he needed proof, and when the time came, they wouldn't see it coming. Not Carter. Not Nancy. Not anyone who had built their little kingdoms on cruelty. He was done watching. And soon, they'd all remember exactly who owned this place. Marcus was back on the 6th floor by 6:30 the next morning, long before the sun spilled light over the city skyline. He moved quietly, pushing his cart down the hallway, noting every detail, what rooms had been cleaned, which hall lights flickered, where the walls bore marks that hadn't been touched up in weeks. To most, it would seem like routine maintenance. But Marcus wasn't just looking for dirt. He was hunting the truth. Last night had changed everything. The look on that little girl's face haunted him. And Monica's composure, her dignity in the face of blatant humiliation, burned into his memory. He knew now this wasn't just about bad management. It was about rot. Deep rot. And if he didn't dig it out himself, no one else would. He stopped by room 614. It had a broken lock, something noted in maintenance weeks ago but never fixed. He pushed it open gently and stepped inside. It was one of the smaller rooms, supposedly economy-friendly, but priced like a suite. He glanced around, then reached into his cart and pulled out a tiny black device, a voice recorder. He'd bought it under a different name. He pressed it into the base of the nightstand. By mid-morning, the staff lounge buzzed with gossip. Marcus sat in the corner sipping coffee from a paper cup, his janitor's cap pulled low. He'd become part of the background now, invisible, and that was exactly what he needed. "Did you hear what Carter did yesterday?" one of the bellhops whispered. "To the black lady?" a waitress replied. "Of course." "Everybody's talking. She posted it online." "Seriously?" "Yeah, and people are pissed. Over 20,000 views overnight." Marcus didn't move, but his pulse quickened. Carter strolled in moments later, holding his phone and looking visibly irritated. "Who the hell filmed that?" he barked. No one answered. "You think I'm scared of some social justice pity party?" "Please. That woman's not even a paying customer anymore. She left." He turned toward Marcus, eyes narrowing. "You," he pointed. "Eli, right?" Marcus looked up slowly. "Yes, sir." "You were right there. See anything?" Marcus gave a neutral shrug. "Just looked like a disagreement to me." "Exactly," Carter said, nodding smugly. "People blow things out of proportion when they've got nothing better to do." Marcus nodded slowly, keeping his expression blank. Inside he was boiling, but that wasn't the twist. That came 2 hours later. Nancy was screaming in the hallway outside the laundry room. Marcus hurried over just in time to see her dragging a teenage employee, a new hire named Malik, by the arm. "You think you can steal from my carts?" she shouted. "I didn't take anything," Malik cried. "I swear." "You're lying. And guess what? You're fired. Right now." No one even talked to me, Malik stammered. I didn't do anything. Marcus stepped between them before she could yank him again. Ma'am, maybe we should check the cameras before anything's decided, he said evenly. Nancy sneered. You defending a thief now? I'm saying the truth should decide, not assumptions. She glared at him. Marcus could see it in her eyes. She hated being challenged, especially by someone she thought was beneath her. Stay in your lane, Eli, she snapped. Or you'll be next. That night, Marcus called Malik's mother using a burner phone. She cried on the line. He's been saving for college, she said. That job meant everything. He didn't even get a chance to explain. Marcus promised to look into it. He returned to room 614, now empty again, and sat on the edge of the bed. He pulled out his recorder and played back the hallway conversation from earlier. Nancy's voice came through clear as day, yelling at Malik without proof, then bragging in the break room minutes later that she showed that punk who's boss. He saved the clip. He was building a case. The next morning, Marcus arrived early again. This time, something was different. Carter was in the manager's office, pacing. He looked rattled. Nancy stood nearby, arms crossed. You don't understand, Carter muttered. Corporate called. Someone upstairs is sniffing around. They're asking about guest complaints. About that woman? Nancy asked, frowning. No, bigger than that, he whispered. They're asking about the staff. Labor violations. There's a whole audit team coming next week. Marcus stood just outside the door, mopping the hallway with slow, deliberate strokes. Nancy's voice dropped. You think someone's tipping them off? Carter exhaled. I don't know, but something's off. That was the first time Marcus saw fear in Carter's eyes. It wouldn't be the last. He returned to the break room, where Terry, the black bellhop, was sitting alone. Marcus sat across from him. You okay, man? He asked. Terry looked up. You ever feel like you're just waiting for something to crack? Every day. I got written up again this morning. You know why? Because my shoes weren't polished enough. Meanwhile, Brian's wearing sneakers with holes. They want you to snap, Marcus said softly, so they can say you were the problem all along. Terry looked at him, surprised. You're not like the others. You actually see things. Marcus gave a small nod. Why are you here anyway? Terry asked. This place eats people. Marcus looked down at his hands. Let's just say I have a reason. And he did. He'd spent years building an empire from scratch, and now he was watching it rot from the inside. He could have fired them all with a single call, but that wasn't enough. They needed to feel it. They needed to understand. Because if he didn't, people like Monica, Malik, and Terry would keep being crushed under a system that pretended not to see them. And he wasn't going to let that happen. Not on his watch, not in his hotel. It was just after 7 a.m. when Marcus returned to the basement maintenance room and found a note taped to his locker. Scrawled in black Sharpie, it read, "Watch your back, Eli." He held it in his hand for a long moment, then slowly tore it up, letting the pieces fall into the trash. He didn't need confirmation that someone suspected him. But the timing was off. He hadn't revealed anything yet. Someone was getting paranoid. And that meant he was getting close. He headed up to the front lobby, where a new face was behind the reception desk. A young woman, mid-20s, with box braids pulled into a neat bun and a sharp, observant gaze. Her name tag read, Danielle. She noticed him lingering. Need help with something? She asked, politely but cool. Just waiting to clean the manager's office. Marcus replied with a slight grin. You knew? Third day, she said. Transferred from the Baltimore property. You like it here so far? Danielle hesitated. Not sure yet. But I've been watching. Marcus tilted his head. Watching what? She leaned in just a touch. The way Carter talks to people. The way Nancy glares like she owns this place. How the black and brown staff are always doing twice the work with half the recognition. Let's just say, I didn't come here blind. Marcus smiled. Keep your eyes open and your head down. Don't worry, she said, tapping the desk lightly. I'm good at playing the long game. He liked her already. Back in the staff hallway, Carter was berating the housekeeping team. I want those linens folded tight enough to slice butter. Do you people even care what standards look like? Marcus watched as Carmen, one of the oldest employees, nearly dropped her stack of towels trying to keep pace. Carter turned to Marcus. And you, Eli, clean the storage closet by 10. That mess in there is embarrassing. Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. Carter's phone buzzed, and he stepped away, pacing toward his office. As Marcus moved past the hallway, he subtly slid a small camera behind a row of cleaning products in the supply room, another piece on the chessboard. By lunchtime, the entire hotel was buzzing again. The video of Carter humiliating Monica had made it to local news. The segment ended with a still of Monica and her daughter walking out of the hotel while Carter stood frozen at the desk. The anchor said the hotel declined to comment. Nancy stormed through the staff lounge. Who the hell leaked that video? The room went dead silent. You think this is funny? We're about to have corporate all over our backs because some angry black woman couldn't take a little pushback? Terry stood up slowly from his chair. You mean the angry black woman who asked for basic respect? Nancy glared at him. You're on thin ice. Marcus stepped in before it escalated. Cool it. Everyone's just doing their job. Stay in your place, Eli, she snapped. I am, Marcus said calmly. Just making sure no one gets thrown under the bus for telling the truth. Later that day, Marcus caught Carter in the employee parking lot, smoking a cigarette and muttering to himself. 2 more weeks, Carter whispered, barely noticing Marcus approaching. Just 2 more weeks until I get that promotion. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Promotion? Carter chuckled dryly. Yeah, if I survive this damn audit, they're sending the VP of Operations next Monday. I'm just praying none of this mess sticks. Marcus leaned against the brick wall. You ever wonder why it's so messy? Carter squinted. What's that supposed to mean? Maybe the mess isn't just in the rooms. Carter stared at him, trying to read something in his tone. You're full of little sayings, Eli. Maybe worry less about philosophy and more about scrubbing floors. Marcus pushed off the wall and nodded. Whatever you say, boss. That night, Marcus reviewed the footage from the supply room. He fast-forwarded past hours of nothing until a frame caught his eye. Malik. Back in the storage room, picking up trash from the floor, at the exact time Nancy claimed he was stealing. She lied. And he had proof now. He also had footage of Carter slipping a hotel keycard to a woman who was not on payroll, along with a room number. It was grainy, but the implication was clear. He was building a web, and they were tangling themselves in it. The twist came when Marcus returned to his locker the next morning and found it open. Not just opened, ransacked. His extra uniform was shredded, his notebook with daily logs missing. But he noticed one thing still left behind, a photo of a young boy tucked under his cleaning spray. His son. No one should have had access to that. He looked up slowly. It wasn't just a warning now. They were watching him too. Danielle found him later in the elevator. They broke into your locker, didn't they? She asked quietly. He nodded. Looks like they're getting nervous. She looked at him, eyes narrowing. You're not just a janitor, are you? Marcus paused. Then finally he said, I'm here to clean house. Just not in the way they think. Danielle didn't flinch. Instead, she whispered, Then let me know how I can help. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt a sliver of trust. But trust was a dangerous currency in a place like this. And the stakes were only getting higher. The morning air hung heavy in the hallways, the scent of bleach and burnt coffee lingering as the staff moved quietly through their routines. But something had shifted. A tension ran through the building like exposed wiring. Whispers, side glances, small silences before greetings. Marcus could feel it. He had become a threat. The general manager, Carter, held a staff meeting in the main lounge, an unusual move for a Tuesday. I don't want to see any more of our dirty laundry aired to the public, he said sharply, eyes scanning the room as if daring someone to speak. This is a private business, and privacy matters. You see something, you report it to management, not to your phone cameras. Not to TikTok. Nancy, standing near the back, added, And if anyone here has a problem with how this place is run, there's the door. We only want team players. Marcus kept his expression neutral. Next to him, Danielle crossed her arms. Toxic much, she muttered under her breath. Carter caught Marcus's eye and nodded once, too casual to be friendly. It was a warning. After the meeting, Marcus slipped down to the security office. He had access now, thanks to a misplaced master keycard he'd picked up from Carter's assistant 2 days prior. Quietly, he pulled the hard drive from the surveillance archive and pocketed it. But someone was already on to him. That afternoon, Malik, the young night porter, who'd been falsely accused before, approached Marcus near the loading dock. Man, something's off, he said. I heard Nancy asking it if there were any unusual logins. She thinks someone's snooping into system files. Marcus stiffened. Did they mention names? No. But she was looking at a staff photo. Yours was right on top of the stack. Marcus exhaled slowly. All right. Thanks, Malik. Keep your head down, all right? Malik nodded and disappeared back inside. Later that day, Marcus got a surprise request from Carter. Eli, Carter said, peering out of his office, I want you to do a special cleanup. VIP suite, top floor, now. It was odd. Janitors were rarely sent alone to clean VIP rooms. Marcus knew it was bait. Still, he went. The elevator ride up was silent, each floor ding pulling him deeper into whatever trap was waiting. When the doors opened, he stepped into the long, plush hallway, room 1802. He knocked once, then used his keycard. Inside, it was pristine. No trash, no linens out of place. But on the desk, a single envelope. He opened it. Inside was a photo of him, taken in the basement near the service entrance. Someone had been following him. The message on the back read, We know who you are. He looked up, and Carter was standing in the doorway. Lose something, Eli? Carter asked. Marcus held the photo loosely, hiding his reaction. You sent me here for this? Carter stepped inside, closing the door behind him. You've been acting different lately. Smarter. Like you know something. Maybe I just care more than you expect. Carter smiled, but there was no humor in it. Let me make something clear, he said. This hotel runs because I keep it running. If anyone threatens that, they disappear. Understand? Marcus met his gaze evenly. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. Stay in your lane, or get steamrolled. Marcus left without a word. He returned to the janitor's closet and pulled out the hard drive he'd taken earlier, plugged it into an old laptop Danielle had helped set up with clean software. He scrubbed through footage, time-stamped and grainy, until he froze on one clip. Carter. In his office. Accepting a thick white envelope from a man in a dark suit. Money? A bribe? No. Marcus zoomed in, enhancing the still image. The envelope bore the logo of Prescott Developers, the same firm currently fighting to buy the hotel's land from its holding company. The same firm Carter had sworn he wasn't talking to, so Carter was secretly negotiating a buyout, which meant he wasn't planning to stay here much longer. Marcus sat back, breath shallow. Everything was moving faster than expected. Danielle entered quietly. You okay? No, but I just found our silver bullet. She looked at the screen. You planning to go to corporate? Marcus shook his head. No, not yet. This runs deeper than Carter. We need to know who else is in on it. Danielle nodded slowly. You think Nancy knows? I think Nancy's orchestrating it. A new voice joined them. You're right. It was Monica. The woman Carter had humiliated days ago. She held a flash drive in her hand. I came back, she said, because I have something you need. I used to work corporate compliance before I took time off for my daughter. I pulled some data before they wiped my employee profile. Marcus stared. You kept that? Monica nodded. I knew Carter was dirty. I just didn't know how bad. She handed him the drive. It's got emails, meeting logs, payouts, and a few names you won't like. He took it carefully. Why help me? She looked him dead in the eye. Because you're not really a janitor, are you? Silence. Then, finally, Marcus said, No, I'm not. Danielle looked between them, tension in her throat. So, what are you? Marcus looked at both of them, and for the first time, the weight in his voice matched the fire in his eyes. I'm the man they never expected to fight back. The hotel lobby glowed in warm amber tones that evening, masking the quiet chaos brewing beneath its polished surface. Guests laughed over cocktails, unaware that the very foundation of the hotel's leadership was beginning to crack. Upstairs in the janitor's closet-turned-war room, Marcus sat with Monica and Danielle, the room lit only by the laptop screen. The files on Monica's flash drive confirmed everything, and more. Emails between Carter and Prescott Developers, meeting logs that included Nancy's initials, private messages between Nancy and someone labeled Board Exec 22, discussing moving up the timeline. They're planning to finalize the deal next week, Monica said. If they pull it off, the hotel will be sold to Prescott, and every employee will either be fired or replaced. No severance. No notice. Marcus leaned back, his jaw tight. They're gutting the place and cashing out, probably pocketing millions. Danielle clenched her fists. How do we stop them? Marcus looked at the ceiling, his thoughts racing. We need leverage, something that will not only stop the sale, but expose them publicly. Force corporate's hand. Monica hesitated. There's something else. I didn't tell you before. Marcus turned to her. What? She pulled up an audio file. Nancy's voice crackled through the speaker, unmistakable. I don't care if Malik didn't steal anything. We needed someone to take the fall, and he was the easiest target. The silence afterward was thunderous. Danielle covered her mouth, eyes wide. Marcus closed the laptop slowly. She ruined that kid's life, for a cover-up. He stood up, heart pounding. This changes everything. We're not just stopping a buyout, we're taking down a system. But as they began forming a plan, something outside the closet shifted. A footstep, too deliberate. Monica instinctively pulled the door shut and killed the light. 3 shadows passed just beyond the door, security staff. One of them paused, hand on the doorknob, then moved on. They waited in silence for minutes before Monica whispered, "They know we're getting close." Marcus nodded. "Then it's time I stop pretending." The next morning, the staff arrived to find the hotel buzzing. Rumors were spreading fast. Nancy had suspended Malik again, claiming he violated employee conduct after speaking with press, though no such interview ever took place. Danielle stormed into the manager's office to confront her, only to be escorted out by 2 security guards. Nancy turned to Carter, visibly rattled. "That janitor Eli, he's not who he says he is." "You think he's corporate?" Carter asked. "Worse, I think he's the owner." Carter laughed. "Impossible." "I've met the man once. We're in the clear." Nancy's jaw tightened. "I'm telling you, he's not normal staff. He's moving too carefully. People like him don't mop floors. He's waiting for something." Marcus was, in fact, waiting, but not for long. That afternoon, he donned his uniform one last time and walked into the executive lounge like he owned the place, because he did. He moved confidently through the crowd, ignoring glares and whispers, until he reached the private boardroom where an unauthorized meeting was taking place between Carter, Nancy, and a Prescott representative. He knocked once, then entered without waiting. The room fell silent. Carter stood. "This is a private meeting." Marcus locked eyes with him. "Not anymore." Nancy stood, furious. "How dare you!" But before she could finish, Marcus pulled out a remote and clicked it. The monitor behind them flickered to life, playing the audio Monica had uncovered. "I don't care if Malik didn't steal anything." Nancy paled. The Prescott man stood, confused. "What the hell is this?" Marcus turned to him. "You're negotiating with people who framed an innocent kid, pocketed bribes, and tried to sabotage this hotel from within." "Who the hell are you?" Carter growled. Marcus stepped forward, removed his ID badge, and set it on the table. "Marcus Langford, sole owner of Langford Holdings. You've been working for me the whole time." Dead silence. Then Carter lunged forward, knocking over a chair. "You think this changes anything?" he balked. "You think they'll believe you? You've got no proof." Marcus didn't flinch. "Actually, I do." He pulled out a printed report, copies of the emails and transaction logs Monica had compiled. "And this has already been sent to corporate, along with the security footage, audio recordings, and witness statements." Nancy's face crumpled. The Prescott rep backed toward the door. "I'm done playing janitor," Marcus said. "Now it's your turn to clean up." He turned and walked out. Behind him, Carter slammed his fist on the table, furious. Nancy dropped into a chair, whispering to herself, "How the hell did we not see this coming?" "Because you never looked at the people you thought were beneath you." And now, the janitor had flipped the script. Nancy paced her office, her nerves frayed, her usual icy composure completely gone. The blinds were half closed, casting slashes of shadow across her face, making her look almost unrecognizable. She had called in every favor she had left, trying to contain the explosion Marcus had just set off. But there was no containing it. The board was already alerted. HR had launched a formal investigation. Legal had frozen all ongoing transactions. Prescott developers pulled out of the deal less than an hour after Marcus walked out. And the staff. They were no longer afraid. Danielle, Malik, and several others stood in the break room, whispering in tight clusters. Some were angry. Some were shocked. All of them were watching, waiting. The whispers were no longer about Marcus the janitor. They were about Marcus Langford, the billionaire. "Did you see her face?" Malik asked, his voice still tinged with disbelief. "Nancy looked like someone pulled the rug from under her." Danielle leaned against the counter. "That's because he did." Just then, Marcus entered the break room. The noise died down. No uniform today. He wore a fitted black shirt and dark jeans. Casual, but every inch the man in charge. He raised a hand. "I know a lot has happened. And I know you have questions. I'll address everyone soon, but for now, thank you. Every one of you. You kept this hotel running, even when it wasn't fair." Someone in the back clapped. Then another. The room filled with a cautious, growing applause. Monica stepped forward. "What happens now?" Marcus looked around the room. Now we clean house." At that moment, security guards entered the building. But not to protect Nancy. These were Marcus's people, new hires from corporate, dressed in tailored suits and armed with official orders. They moved straight toward Nancy's office. Across the lobby, Carter was mid-conversation with a high-profile guest when one of the security agents tapped him on the shoulder and handed him an envelope. He opened it. His face drained. "What is this?" he barked. "Termination notice." "Effective immediately," the guard replied. "You can't fire me," Carter snapped. "I've been managing this hotel for 6 years." "And you've been skimming profits for 3 of them," Marcus said as he walked up behind him. "Also, there's a video of you threatening staff. I'd say 6 years is long enough." "You're going to regret this," Carter snarled. "I already did," Marcus replied. "That's why I'm fixing it." Security escorted Carter out. Guests paused and stared, some taking photos. There was no cover-up now. No whisper campaign. It was happening live. Meanwhile, Nancy was trying to shred documents in her office when Monica and Danielle stepped in behind 2 security guards. Nancy turned, startled. "You can't be in here. This is a private office." "Not anymore," Monica said. "You're not even a real assistant," Nancy spat. "Maybe not," Monica said, "but I'm a real whistleblower now." Marcus entered last. Nancy straightened up, trying to regain control. "I want a lawyer." "You'll get one," Marcus said, "after you answer to the board. And maybe the DA." "You don't scare me," she said. But her voice trembled. "You should be scared," Marcus replied. "Not of me, but of what happens when people like you finally get held accountable." Nancy was escorted out with less of a fight than anyone expected. In truth, her power had always been built on fear and silence. Without those, she was just another paper tiger. Later that night, Marcus stood on the rooftop, looking over the city skyline. The hotel glowed behind him, quieter than usual, like it too was exhaling after years of pressure. Danielle joined him. "I still can't believe you pulled this off," she said. "I didn't do it alone," Marcus replied. "So, what's next?" He looked back at the hotel. "We rebuild. The right way." There was a long pause. Then she asked, "You think people like Nancy ever learn?" "Maybe," he said. "But this isn't about changing people like her. It's about making sure they don't get to decide who wins and who gets crushed." Downstairs, the staff had started rearranging the break room. Someone brought in a speaker. Music started playing. For the first time in a long time, the hotel felt like a place worth fighting for, and the man who once mopped its floors. He was just getting started. The next morning, the air inside Langford Grand felt completely different. The walls didn't echo with tension anymore. The smiles on the faces of the staff were no longer forced, but there was still one thing missing: clarity. Rumors swirled like wildfire. Was Marcus staying? Was he selling? Was the hotel going to change hands again? Marcus sat alone in his penthouse suite, staring at the framed photograph of his father that sat on the edge of the desk. In the picture, Harold Langford stood outside the very hotel they'd built from the ground up, hand on a shovel, young Marcus by his side with messy hair and wide eyes. He whispered under his breath, "We're almost there, Dad." A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. It was Danielle. "They're waiting downstairs," she said softly. Marcus nodded and followed her to the lobby where the entire staff had gathered. Every bellhop, cleaner, valet, front desk rep, all looking up at him. He stepped forward. "I know this week has been chaotic. I've watched people show more strength than some leaders I've met in boardrooms. You've been honest when it was hard, loyal when it wasn't rewarded, and resilient beyond reason. You deserve more. So here's what's going to happen next." The room went quiet. "I'm not selling this hotel. I'm staying. But I'm not running it the way it used to be. I'm promoting from within. Effective today, Malik will take over as assistant manager. Monica will lead guest services, and Danielle—" He paused, locking eyes with her. "You're now director of operations." Gasps and claps erupted, especially from Danielle, who looked like she might fall over. "Wait, what?" she whispered. "You've kept this place from falling apart. You knew how to lead even when no one gave you the title," he said. The applause built slowly but turned into a full ovation. Some cried. Others laughed in disbelief. It was a moment few of them had ever imagined. A boss who actually saw them, rewarded them. But not everyone was clapping. From the far side of the lobby, a sharply dressed man in his 40s stepped forward. He clapped, slow, deliberate. "Touching speech, Marcus," the man said. People turned. Marcus's posture stiffened. "Alan Green," Marcus said with a clipped tone. Danielle leaned in. "Who is that?" Marcus didn't answer right away. Alan stepped closer. "Nice of you to play hero, Marcus, but I think you forgot one small detail." "What's that?" Marcus asked coldly. Alan smirked. "Your board still has voting rights, and some of them don't like this little charity act you're running. They want profitability, growth, not janitors in suits." A few gasps. Some staff glanced at each other nervously. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "I own 51%. "They can't override my decisions." Alan chuckled. "True, but they can stall your projects. Freeze capital. Kill your renovations." Marcus stepped forward, voice steel cold. "You coming here to make threats, Alan?" "I'm just here to remind you, we're not done yet." Marcus didn't flinch. "No, we're not, because you're forgetting one thing." Alan raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "I recorded every meeting where you and Nancy plotted to underpay employees and siphon profits. I sent it to the board last night." Alan's smirk faltered. Marcus continued. "I gave them a choice. Stand behind a system that robs people and ends up in lawsuits, or stand behind real leadership." Alan's face went pale. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "Don't worry," Marcus added. "Your formal termination letter is in your inbox. HR will be in touch. Oh, and Alan?" Alan turned halfway to the door. "Take Nancy with you." The staff broke into cheers. Some clapped so hard their hands stung. Alan walked out silently, his polished shoes suddenly sounding louder than ever on the marble floor. Marcus turned back to the crowd. "This hotel isn't just a business, it's a family, it's a legacy. And starting today, it's ours again." He looked at Danielle, who was blinking away tears, then at Malik, who looked stunned, speechless. Outside, the Langford Grand shined under the morning sun, its tall windows reflecting the new energy inside. An empire once built by grit, nearly lost to greed, and now reclaimed by truth. And Marcus Langford had no intention of giving it up again. A week had passed since Alan and Nancy were ousted, but the ripple effect still hadn't settled. Media outlets had picked up the story. Billionaire pretends to be janitor, fires entire management team, was plastered across headlines. TikToks, tweets, podcast debates. Everyone had a take. Some praised Marcus Langford as a genius. Others questioned how such toxicity went unnoticed for so long. But the people who mattered most, the hotel's staff, knew the truth. Inside the Langford Grand, the transformation was already visible. The energy in the lobby was warm and electric. Uniforms were updated, shifts were fairly assigned, employees had a voice. Danielle oversaw the daily operations like she'd been doing it her whole life. Malik had stopped doubting himself and stepped into leadership naturally. Guests who once checked in out of obligation were now extending stays just to be part of the change. Upstairs, Marcus sat in the same corner suite where his father once made every major decision about the hotel. He stared out the window, watching the city buzz below. But his thoughts were interrupted by a knock. Danielle stepped in with a smirk. "You're missing the staff celebration." Marcus chuckled. "I figured I'd let the real team take the spotlight." She crossed her arms. "You're still part of this family, you know." "I know," he said, "but it was never about me." Danielle sat across from him. "You could have fired them all quietly. You could have bought a new hotel, hired new people. Why go through all of this?" Marcus looked her straight in the eye. "Because when I stood in that utility closet, scrubbing floors and listening to how they spoke to you, to everyone, I realized something. You don't fix a broken system by walking away. You fix it by showing up, getting your hands dirty, and forcing it to face itself." Danielle's expression softened. "They made people feel small, invisible. Like they were replaceable. I wanted them to know what it feels like when the people they underestimate have power." A long pause stretched between them. She smiled. "You really are your father's son." He laughed. "Yeah, well, he'd probably tell me I took too long." They stood and walked down together to the ballroom, now filled with balloons, music, and laughter. Employees danced, took selfies, and enjoyed food catered by the hotel's own kitchen, finally respected for its talent. Marcus took the mic one last time. "I came here thinking I needed to save this hotel, but really you all saved me. You reminded me what leadership is supposed to look like. It's not corner offices and big titles. It's showing up. Listening, standing up for each other, even when it's hard." He let his eyes scan the crowd. "To everyone here who was ever overlooked, underpaid, or made to feel less, this place is yours now too." The applause was deafening. But somewhere at the back of the room, a young bellhop named Rico stood quietly, watching. He'd joined the hotel only a month before Marcus went undercover. He was the one who had once covered for Marcus's shift without asking for anything in return. Now he leaned in and whispered to a colleague, "I'm gonna run this place one day." And just like that, the legacy began again. Outside, a small plaque had been placed by the fountain at the hotel entrance. It read, "Built on honesty. Reclaimed through justice." Marcus stood beside it with Danielle, the two of them watching as guests streamed in and out, unaware of the revolution that had taken place within these walls. Some stories begin with money. Others begin with power. But this one began with a mop, a lie, and the courage to stand up when everyone else looked away. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about how we treat each other, especially those we overlook every day, Then don't forget to support our channel. Subscribe, share this story, and let's keep uncovering the power in the people no one expects. Because sometimes, the janitor isn't just cleaning the mess. He's here to clean house.